Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell. And welcome to Moscow. And welcome to a supermarket video. I've not done one in a while. I thought, seeing as there's a French-owned supermarket here in Moscow, right behind me, we'd go check it out. I'll explain more about it as we walk around. The store we're going to walk around is called Auchan, and this is a hypermarket that's here in Moscow. I'm not too far from the center of Moscow here, around about 30 minutes away by car. And Auchan is very well known, particularly in Europe, being that it's a French-owned hypermarket chain. There is 230 of them across all of Russia. Now what's interesting, and I just noticed this when I came here now, there's no big Auchan sign. They always had them hanging somewhere about here. And it's very interesting when you walk around the shopping center I'm in. So all the shops have their signage and their branding. And here, it's very inconspicuous, is the word. Now, most people, when they come shopping here, use these interesting trolleys, which we'll see people pushing around as we go inside, where you actually put the baskets on, which this gentleman's replacing right now. And people don't traditionally use the bigger baskets, which are over here, which, if you remember, Tucker Carlson was a little bit shocked by because you needed a coin to use them. And most people use these smaller hand baskets because it just doesn't force you to fill up a whole basket when you go shopping. So there is actually an Auchan sign just up on the wall here, which has got the opening hours, 8 a.m. till midnight. So this is the upstairs level, which is basically all of the non-food items. So what I'm really going to do is I'm just going to walk through here and head on downstairs to show you the food part, because I think most people want to see that. However, this upstairs level has all of the variety items, everything for your house, everything for cleaning, everything for your pets, everything you possibly need, and more. Now, the best way I can describe this place is, if you're from America, it's a two-story Walmart. Now, if you've been to a super Walmart where there's a food section and then the regular part of Walmart, that's probably the easiest way to think about it. And this is pretty much the closest thing to that. However, this is a French chain. They're very well known in Europe. They've got all of the kids' back to school items right here, all of the exercise books and pens. I'm not sure, is that possibly a French brand of pen? It'll be interesting to know. So they do have some electrical goods in here as well, so things like phone accessories, stuff for your kitchen. And we'll pretty much speed run through most of this and just talk about it as I see it. And then way off in the distance, you've got all of the clothes and all of the very normal everyday items, very similar to a Kmart or a Target, or I'm not sure what else. In Australia we've got Big W. However, this has the grocery store section underneath, so it's really not kind of like any of them. If you put them all together, all of the towels. And then on this upstairs level, they've also got drinks and alcohol. Generally, when you go to other Auchans, they've got the drinks on the lower level. So this is a little bit smaller where they've tucked it all together. There is also all of the babies and children's items here as well. So all of the food items for kids. They've got a nice, very large aisle of kids' food or baby food and formula. Very nice wide aisles. Auchan I've known since I came here to Russia the first time, many years ago. It was really known as a discount store. And then slowly over the years, it became not necessarily the cheapest place to shop. However, It's always a place where you can get everything in one place. So if you needed some plastic cups or a bucket or anything for cleaning, anything for your house, you could get it in a place like this. Whereas a lot of the more traditional supermarkets, they don't have all of the variety sections and aisles like you see here. Here is kvass, the very well-known drink in Russia. It's fermented bread. I think I'm explaining it correctly. Whole cleaning aisle, more cleaning stuff. I think we all know the brand Fairy. These shops are always full and always look very pristine. And they have, I think, a very good management that's behind them that enforce that and the look of the store. So upstairs here is also the personal care items. So you've got a lot of aisles of everything in large quantities. So if you need an entire aisle of shampoo, a lot of different toothpastes, you would come here. Now where I live, we don't have an Auchan for around about 45 minutes by car from my place. I was in the area doing something else and I came across this place. So I thought it was only appropriate to come and do a walk around. Let's have a look at the alcohol section. I think possibly being that it's a French supermarket, they want to make sure they've got plenty of wine in stock and plenty of choices. And I think just looking at this aisle of red wines, there is more than enough choices. Australian wine right here, right on the bottle. I was wondering if I'd spot any. A lot of these shops actually have flags which represent where they're from. They do have one for the Russian wines on this side, but then all of the foreign wines, they don't have any signage. Actually, I think at the top here they've got the country names. They do. You can see America written up there. I think also Italian wines, wines from Spain. We've always got a lot of water in this shop as well. And being that it's a hypermarket, they generally have a lot of their stock in pallets up on the top levels of the store, which is very normal in any hypermarket around the world. There's champagnes and sparkling wines. You can also get the box wines. I really see the interest in these. Perhaps people use them for cooking, because you can really get a cheap bottle of wine rather than buying the carton wines. So have a look at the choices. And they're putting out new stock all the time here. They are constantly refilling and restocking. Now I am here on a Tuesday afternoon, so I don't always expect as many shoppers in the store during the middle of the day, because people do go to work, people go to school, people go to university. People are not all staying at home and enjoying the beautiful weather right now. Here is some of the imported alcohols. You can see over there Martini. There is absinthe here. Anybody knows about this? A hallucinogenic drink. Aperol. Come down to the Scotch whiskies. So you can see Bell's with the British flag there. Johnny Walker Red is very well known around the entire world. There is quite a few choices. Now, depending on the Auchan you go to, they quite often have a separate counter for premium products. I'm not sure in this place if they do. Tequila, very nice brand here, Plantation Barbados rum. Also got from Dominican Republic. Also, there is Captain Morgan down there. So more than enough choices. I'm always curious, do we really need 50 types of water in Russia? Somebody who is from Russia, please let me know. We have more than enough water in Lake Baikal. However, do we need this many brands of water? I think there is too many choices. So this is the beer aisle here. Actually, there's a little bit of the vodka as well, tucked away in the corner, hidden by all these posts. So there's actually an entire aisle of vodka. Let me stand corrected. And how they all find a market and able to sell their brands, I don't know. Beer in Russia is typically sold individually. So everything here is single bottle or single can price. However, where you see anything under 100 rubles, it would be under $1 American or €1 or £1 for a bottle. And you really just have to decide what you want to drink. Do you want some domestic beer? Do you want something imported? And then at the end of the day too, this may not be your first choice of places for alcohol, because we have so many beer and wine shops in Russia. A lot of people will go there first. This is very interesting. This is Australian. This is actually the sparkling drink, it says. But they have quite a lot of ginger ales. This is from Queensland in Australia. And it's sitting here in a Moscow hypermarket that's owned by the French. And that's actually something that I think a lot of people would miss, sitting on that shelf right there, right near all of the potato chips. Pringles are still here in Russia. They said they left. However, I think these are imported ones. Looking at the label on the side, you can always tell the imported versus domestic brands by the barcode or by the white sticker that's required when it's imported from a foreign country. Do we need a bath bomb? Or should we get a bottle of beer for the same exact price? I'm going to say this again, and it's quite famous that, was it more than a year ago now, that Tucker Carlson, the American journalist, came to Moscow to interview President Putin. And he came to an ashan that was quite close to the center of Moscow, and he rode his shopping basket on these escalators, and he was in shock that the escalator actually had a locking system for the trolleys, so you could ride them up and down the travelator. So I'm trying to make this video as compact and short as possible, but the size of these stores, it's difficult to walk around and of course not include something in it. So I'm doing my best to make it a little bit shorter, and I hope you're enjoying this supermarket walk around here in Moscow. Everybody's checking out the plants. As we come into summertime, people want to get things for their country house and get things growing a little bit faster. However, this is what I want to show you, and I've been wanting to make a separate video about this, but I don't know if I could make a video long enough about the price of eggs here in Russia and how prices of eggs have come down a whole lot. Now this is the in-house packet of eggs for Auchan, and they are 70 rubles for a box of 10 eggs. Now, of course, lots of the boxes are open. However, a fairly standard box of 10 eggs is less than €1 or less than $1 American. Now there is of course lots of other choices. I won't hide away from showing you other choices. Most people, including me, buys whatever the house brand is. My wife sometimes chooses something different. Now the thing is though, is we can buy eggs here in absolute abundance. Have a look over this side. They've got the 30 tray eggs, and there might be some 20 tray ones as well. So depending on the one you want to look at, I think here is 20. Well, this is 30 for about $3. Should they get even cheaper? There is the 30 one right here. This is the house brand one for right about $2 American or €2. And then again, there's different brands of eggs. Actually, there's an even cheaper packet over here. This is even cheaper again. This is 60 rubles. That's not even $1 Australian for a box of 10 eggs. Now, please tell me where you live, what you're paying for eggs right now. Now, I know we're in Russia and you're in another country, and comparing apples and apples or eggs and eggs maybe isn't correct. However, everywhere in the world can have chickens. Everywhere in the world can breed chickens and have chicken eggs. So let me know what you pay for a box of eggs. Now, I know traditionally they're boxes of 12. Here in Russia they're 10. But to get them as cheap as 60 rubles is phenomenal. Now, there is a lot to see here. This is the lower level with all of the traditional groceries. Over here in the back is all of the cereals, porridge, oats. There's also some healthy food options as well. They don't do a lot of branding of the store. You'll see it is very hypermarket-like. They do have a few posters down the middle of the store, but otherwise it's very much a come in and shop, grab what you need and go home sort of place. They never really did things to get you excited to be in the store. Bottle of oil for 100 rubles. I was going to see kilo of sugar, 60 rubles. So if you see anything under about 90 rubles, it's less than $1 American. Flour, I always get a little bit thrown around here by the signs. This is the house one, 55 rubles. And then the branded one for the 2 kilos is about $1.50. Now, the reason I'm just showing you a few items is there is very specific socially important food items in Russia, and the government want to control the price of specific things so that anybody can afford basic staple food items. You'll see here the house brand pasta, 40 rubles for a bag or a packet. So you got lots of choices for about 50 cents for pasta. Now there is, I think it's 10 or 12 food items on that list of socially important food products. And it really covers staple food items which would be able to be made and cooked into food. There is a very large candy section down here. All of the chocolates, all of the treats. Ferrero Rocher. Does anybody have a sweet tooth? Raffaello. I thank you, Italy, for still being here in Russia. Here is all the pod coffee brands. And they have changed a little bit over the last couple of years, but they are still here. So there is one aisle of coffee on the right-hand side, and then there is an entire aisle of tea. Now they are separated by brands and different companies, but there is plenty of choices. Coffee is one of the things that is not produced and made in Russia. It's fully imported, and then they can bring the beans in and then repackage it. However, it's not produced in Russia. Very important. Now this is the butter section. Are people fighting over the last block of butter? I don't think so. Plenty of choices of butter. There's nobody putting it in their pocket and walking off. Everything is not in anti-theft cases. So butter is completely able to be purchased and grabbed. Here is mayonnaise. One thing going back to the eggs weren't in a fridge, if you might notice. Here is sour cream, and then milk. So yeah, are your eggs refrigerated where you live? Now, where are the normal bottles of milk? This throws me off all the time. My wife generally has me buy long life milk. We don't generally buy fresh bottled milk. A fairly normal bottle, under 100 rubles. Actually, this is kefir. So this is not milk. It's like a sour milk. Actually, the traditional milks are over here. So the house brand is very cheap, 30 rubles. And then over here, you're looking at about 100 rubles for quite a lot of the different types. People really don't buy the giant bottles of milk like you do in America because they don't fit in the fridge. People have small fridges, and that bottom row doesn't sell quite as much because it just won't fit in the fridge door. As one of the cleaning ladies goes by, I will say that these shops are always very neat and very tidy. They always have lots of staff running around, constantly restocking, I think, as quick as trucks come in. They have to get stuff on the shelves, which is pretty much the priority in any supermarket. Here is the fruit and vegetable section. I just want to show they've got some ready food here. So you can get cooked food, which is by weight. If you don't want to cook, you can cheat a little bit, take it home, quickly hide the container, and tell your other half you've been cooking all day long. And there is plenty of nice, enjoyable, edible food. There's even pastries as well, if you want some different rice dishes. And this will all be cooked generally in the kitchens in the back here. There is some pastries, even slices of pizza if you want. And you can actually eat them here as well. There's a little mini cafe section in the corner. They actually have microwaves as well, so if you want to buy a ready food, you can heat it up and eat right here. They've tucked it into this back corner where all the fruit and vegetables are. I do have another question about potatoes and carrots as well while we're looking. Do you buy them unwashed like this? Or do you buy them clean, washed? There is quite a difference in price between dirty potatoes and clean ones. But do you care about the condition and look versus the price? So again, I am here Tuesday afternoon. So please let me know how busy your local supermarket is on a Tuesday afternoon. And I generally don't expect to see as many people shopping now versus perhaps after 6 or 7 p.m. when most people would finish their traditional daytime jobs. Mandarins. Are these mini nectarines? They're very, very small, about the size of my thumb. And they look really nice though. A lot of the fruit that you see in a lot of supermarkets in Russia comes from beyond Russia. So you'll see here mangoes next to everyday apples. So they'll get them from nearby CIS countries, or they'll bring them in from somewhere like Turkey or Greece and different warm climate areas. And as we come into seasonal weather here in Moscow region and beyond, things will become locally produced. Here is their meat section. See a few people doing some shopping. So there is plenty of aisles and plenty of choices. There is also a fresh fish area, so you can get whole fish or filleted fish. And there is the world's tiniest frozen section. This middle aisle here, where one lady is grabbing something, and that's it. This is all of the smoked fish and dried fish. I think that's the right word. And there's also packaged salmon in this fridge right here. So if you haven't watched my videos before and you're maybe halfway through, or maybe not quite, we only have a few more aisles to go. I'm an Australian who lives here in Moscow region. My background is in retail. I've worked in shops all my life since I was 15 years old. I didn't finish high school. I worked in retail. I worked in supermarkets. I worked in shops on ships around the world as well. And this is what grew the channel to where it is today. And I hope you enjoy these videos and perhaps some others that are here on the channel. If you're a lover of hams and salamis and sliced meats, this is the aisle for you. Russia doesn't really do bacon very well, although they have a couple of brands right here. That's the one thing perhaps they lack in Russia, is good bacon. So if you want salamis or smoked meats, have a look at the choices. And if this wasn't enough, the aisle just keeps going. After a brief pause, we'll keep going. I was just asked about my channel and what I'm doing, walking around filming. And of course, in Russia, you can film in any public place. There is no law, actually there is a law that allows you to film in public in Russia. And the gentleman was very curious about what I was filming and showing and what was the reason behind the channel. And I explained that I make videos about supermarkets and shopping centers, and he was very interested. So it's just really curious for some people about the background of the channel. Now, did I miss the cheese section? I didn't want to miss it out on the video, and I possibly will. Frozen shrimp, if we need some. Actually, I think there's frozen crab in there as well. So this would be the lower level entry if you were to come in the supermarket section from the street level. And you can see here all these bright colors and things like drinks and candy. They couldn't be any brighter. They generally have seasonal items in Auchans. I'm not too sure what the theme is. I guess it's something to do with sweets and treats and all of the bright colors that go along with it. This is all of the pay-by-weight candy. This is actually really quite famous for Auchan. People come here and get bags of the candy. My wife is no exception to coming to get these. She's always got a bowl in the kitchen on the table, and at her salon she's always got candy there for all of her clients as well. So you're able to get as much or as little as you like of something, and then you just put it on the scale and you get your sticker. And let's have a look at this bread section right here. So they do have some packaged bread, which is on the left hand side. So this would come from local bakeries, generally somewhere in Moscow region, not too far from here. And then they have a in-house bakery in the back, which you can see all the big fans in the ceiling, and then all of the machines that do the bread making and packaging. And then everything you see on this racking right here would be all of the in-house produced bread. So you got the French sticks, of course you have in a French supermarket for 40 rubles. If you want the very nice big, I guess, baguette size. So keep in mind, about 90 rubles is $1. About 100 rubles is €1. So a fairly normal loaf of bread, which is not sliced, for about 40 cents. Actually, there isn't really anything here that is over $1. Even these larger ones are 50 rubles. The gentleman would be just like me, spoilt for choice. And you've got these ciabatta loaves as well. There's also some different flavored ones, these dark breads. And the thing is, most people are buying this daily. So this bread would only be for today or tomorrow, and that's it. And you come shopping again and buy some more. There is the individual bread if you want to make sandwiches, and some pastries. And there is, most things are very reasonably priced. 17 rubles for these raisin bread cakes. So you can see in the back, it's probably hard to see really, but they've got the production going on. I would imagine it's in shifts. So they cook so much, and then probably late tonight they'll come in for the bread for tomorrow. And there we go. All of the greens here on the left, mushrooms, and then traditional vegetables. So everything that's every day on the table. Tomatoes and cucumbers are a standard. And there is a lot of choices of tomatoes. And then the prices vary because of the different varieties, different places they come from. So a lot of people will change their shopping habits based on what's in season. So where something becomes lower because it's seasonal, you eat that, and then come 3 months from now, you'll change and start eating something different. Okay, so I found the cheese, and there is that many dairy fridges in here. It's very easy to miss some of the aisles and what they have. So they've got more than enough choices of different types of cheese from quite a lot of different countries beyond Russia. Some people will say Russia isn't a very well-known cheese-producing country. I did actually go to a cheese festival last year, which will tell you completely otherwise. And while you're grabbing your cheese, grab some Prosecco at the same time. And they've got all the different blocks of cheese and just cuts in different sizes, so you can choose whatever you like. I think I'm going to walk down one more aisle and then head on out. And this is the very limited canned food section. And you've got peas, corn, I think there might be some other canned vegetable. And then somewhere will be canned olives. And that is it. And there is a very long aisle of jarred, pickled vegetables. And you can get anything you like pickled in a glass jar in Russia, in any size you like as well. It's just a matter of what is your taste and preference. One thing I like is pickled mushrooms and pickled onions. Here are the olives. And I was told recently too that olives are not grown in Russia. So they predominantly come from Spain, France, Italy. And there's your choices right there. So if anybody knows some of these brands, Of course, there is the house brands as well, so they'll get them made under license for the supermarket chain. Here is all of the instant noodles and all of the sachet items for your cooking. And then we're right back towards the entrance or exit. So you'll see, because there's 2 levels and then 2 sets of registers, it's never really that busy when you come to pay. And also, because people aren't doing whole basket shopping, people get through the registers quicker as well. So there isn't that backup of people, you know, with huge baskets of food to pay for. Some sausages. This is my easy go-to breakfast whenever I'm hungry in the morning. As I head out of Auchan, the famous French supermarket here in Russia. Now, I like to say supermarket. However, this is known as a hypermarket. And really, because of that second upstairs level, which is this travelator that I'm going up now, I grabbed myself a drink because I've been talking all day today. I did a couple of videos back to back, so I need to have a sit down and a drink. I really hope you've enjoyed this video of my tour of a Russian hypermarket. And just to show you what it's like, almost 3 years since a lot of things happened here in Russia. Actually, Auchan have said and vowed that they won't leave the Russian market, and they're happily still here and open, and people are shopping here. Where I am here is a very busy suburban area in this very large shopping center. So on top of wanting to come and do your grocery shopping, you have about 250 shops to navigate around. So I hope it was enjoyable. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you can possibly remember the name of the Australian product that I showed you, write it in the comments. I'm wondering if anybody took notice of that brand that I showed you. Actually, any Australian would definitely remember it. Maybe a few people know of it. Otherwise, if I read that in the comments, I know you've made it to the end of the video. Thanks, everybody. My Telegram channel is right here. It's a little bit hard to point. You can join me on Telegram anytime. I'm always in the chat. And then an old video or something you haven't seen before will come up right now, and you can keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.